In other local news, the body of a 16-year-old boy was discovered on the railway tracks in the Demodara area in Alla. The police media unit said that the discovery was made following a tip-off.
The police said that the body had been disjointed at the chest. The body has been identified as that of Navaraja Yashish Kumar, a resident of Southern Vatta in Naula, Demodara. He was an advanced level student at Saraswati Mahavidyalaya in Badulla. The body has been placed at the Badulla General Hospital for the magisterial inquest and post-mortem examination.
Meanwhile, the annual Perahara of the Narithasan Preschool of the Arangala Riddhi Mahavihara in Malabe, which is affiliated to the Yashodi Educational and Social Services Foundation, took place today.
The Perahara began following religious observances at the Arangala Riddhi Mahavihara this morning. The Perahara paraded up to the Susila Ramya in Malabe. The government schools in the area supported the Perahara because the children who leave this preschool will be enrolled to those government schools later on. It is also notable that the principals of those schools took part in this Perahara.
දක්ෂතාවයන් දක්වපු විදුහල්පතිවරු සිය කැමැත්තෙන්ම ඇවිල්ලා මේ පෙරහැරට මේ ළමා පෙරහැරට අද සහභාගී වීම මම දකින විශේෂත්වයක්.
News First U reporter Anton Michael Dinesh filed this report from Point Pedro.
An underground tunnel has been discovered during renovation work on the road adjacent to the Point Pedro bus stop. The underground tunnel lies about 10 feet deep and investigations have commenced to determine its origin.
News First U report Venuven, Anton Michael, Pedro Dutua City.
If you just joined us, here's a look at some of the stories we are following on News at 9.
Sri Lankan Airlines says that the reason for the airlines to incur losses in the recent past was the increase in fuel prices. Mutilated body of a 16-year-old found in Demodara. And fire engulfs Kenya's Nairobi airport terminal.
You can follow all the stories we add on News First by simply logging on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. We're just a click away from your #1 news provider.
The White House says U.S. President Barack Obama has cancelled a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin after Russia's decision to grant asylum to intelligence leaker Edward Snowden.
Obama will still attend the G20 economic talks in St. Petersburg.
The decision to cancel the talks, announced during a trip by President Obama to Los Angeles, comes the morning after Obama said he was, quote, disappointed, unquote, with Russia's decision to offer Snowden asylum for a year.
A White House aide said Snowden's asylum had deepened the pre-existing tension between the two countries.
The Kremlin said it was disappointed by the move and that the invitation to bilateral talks remained in force.
Snowden, a former intelligence contractor, had admitted leaking information about U.S. surveillance programs to the media.
Moving across the Atlantic now, a fire engulfed Kenya's main airport, forcing the closure of a vital travel and trade gateway to East Africa. Flames from the inferno lit up the early morning sky and the intense heat repeatedly drove back firefighters. A huge plume of black smoke billowed from the airport buildings, but there was no immediate report of casualties or injuries.
Hundreds of passengers were stranded outside Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in the capital Nairobi, which was cordoned off to keep the public out after the fire started early in the morning in the arrivals and immigration area, according to officials. The cause of the worst fire in record at East Africa's busiest airport was not yet known. One passenger at the airport said he had heard two small explosions from the international arrival area, then sirens. The airport buildings were ravaged by the fire. Television pictures showed desks that had been reduced to charcoal inside the burned-out terminal. The roof had partly caved in and the floor was flooded with water from firefighters. The airlines are expected to divert flights to Kenya's port city of Mombasa, Eldoret in the northwestern and Kisumu in the west, as well as to neighboring countries including Uganda, Tanzania and Rwanda.
Research published in the the British Medical Journal analyzing a family cluster of cases of H7N9 infection in eastern China has found that it is very likely the virus transmitted directly from an index patient to his daughter.
Meanwhile, experts commenting on the research said that while it did not necessarily mean that the H7N9 is any longer closer to becoming the next flu pandemic, it does provide a timely reminder of the need to remain extremely vigilant.
The scientists who led the study stressed, however, that the virus has not yet gained the ability to transmit from person to person efficiently, meaning the risk is very low that it could cause a human pandemic in its current form. The new bird flu virus, which was unknown in humans until February, has so far infected at least 133 people in China and Taiwan, killing 43 of them, according to the latest World Health Organization data. Most cases have been in people who had visited live poultry markets or had close contact with live poultry in 7 to 10 days before falling ill. The first index patient, a 60-year-old man, regularly went to a live poultry market and fell ill 5 to 6 days after his last exposure to poultry. He was admitted to hospital on the 11th of March. When his symptoms became worse, he was transferred to an ICU on March 15th but died of multi-organ failure on May 4th. The second patient, his healthy 32-year-old daughter, had no known exposure to live poultry but provided direct bedside care for her father in the hospital before he went to intensive care. She developed symptoms 6 days after her last contact with her father and went into hospital on the 24th of March. She was moved to the ICU on the 28th and died of multi-organ failure on April 24th. Strains of the virus isolated from samples taken from each patient were almost genetically identical, a strong suggestion that the virus was transmitted directly from father to daughter.
Before we head into sports news, the Colombo Grand Mosque has announced that Sri Lanka Muslims will celebrate Ramazan festival on Friday. The Grand Mosque notes that Muslims should end 30 days of fasting tomorrow and celebrate the Ramazan festival on Friday. TM Dilshan said that the reason for the recent 2020 between Sri Lanka and South Africa was due to the senior players not being included in the squad.
Winning the toss and electing to bat first, the Proteas posted a healthy total of 163 for the loss of 3 wickets in their allotted 20 overs. Faf du Plessis hammered 85 of 65 deliveries, inclusive of 10 boundaries and 3 sixes. JP Duminy contributed with a cameo at the death of the innings with 51 runs. Batting in reply, the Lankans got off to a good start as the openers TM Dilshan and Mahala Jayawardene put up an opening stand of 67. Jayawardene was dismissed for 33. TM Dilshan went to guide the hosts to victory with a bludgeoning 74 of 51 deliveries, inclusive of 9 boundaries and 2 sixes. South Africa, however, won the series 2-1, with TM Dilshan named the man of the match and JP Duminy presented the man of the series award.
And yes, they have a lot.
The 3 senior players had played, we could have won the series. The selectors decided to rotate the 3 of us. The World Cup is approaching and the selectors took a decision keeping that in mind. There is no pressure. However, there is always slight pressure when going in for a game. But I do not have any pressure just because I am the captain. The senior players provide me with the necessary support.
Those were the comments made by TM Dilshan, who attributed Sri Lanka's defeat in the 2020 series against South Africa to the resting of senior players. In the meantime, Dinesh Chandimal noted that although he failed as a batsman, the captaincy was not a weight on his shoulders. They made these comments at a press conference held yesterday after South Africa secured a 2-1 series win against Sri Lanka, although the Lankans won the third and final T20 by 6 wickets yesterday.
The International Cricket Council denied today that it is investigating players in the Ashes series over alleged attempts by some batsmen to use silicone tapes on the edge of their bats to confuse hotspot technology.
Australia's Channel 9 TV reported today that the ICC was investigating the use of silicone amid increasing controversy during the 5-test Ashes series between England and Australia over the inconsistency of the decision review system. The ICC and the players preparing for Friday's 4th test in Chesterley Street refuted the allegations. ICC Chief Executive Dave Richardson said in a statement on the ICC website, quote, "These media reports are totally incorrect. Jeff Allardyce, the ICC General Manager, is meeting with both teams and umpires to see how we can best use the DRS and the available technology going forward in the next 2 test matches. It has nothing to do with any players," unquote. The Channel 9 report had suggested that the ICC would investigate attempts to cheat the effectiveness of hotspot, which uses infrared cameras to determine whether the ball has struck the batsman, bat or pad, with any contact supposed to show up as a bright spot on the image. England coach Andy Flower meanwhile called for improvements in the DRS system after the 3rd test was drawn, a result that ensured the hosts, who won the first 2 tests, would retain the Ashes.
In more sports news, world number 1 Novak Djokovic powered to a comprehensive 6-2, 6-1 win over Florian Mayer in his first match since Wimbledon at the Rogers Cup in Montreal, Canada.
A fit and fresh-looking Djokovic, who was beaten by Andy Murray to the All-England club crown, showed little sign of rust from a lack of recent match practice as he took just 56 minutes to advance on a warm Montreal evening. The Serbian, renowned for his sense of humor and reputation as an entertainer, then celebrated his victory with some impromptu dancing in the center of the main arena, much to the delight of the fans who had stayed late to watch him.
Is he pointing at you, Ravi? Oh, shake and bake you. Nice. Let's get some moves.
And with that, we wrap up this edition of your Primetime News Bulletin. Thanks a lot for joining us. Sam Shane Silva.
And I'm Nicola De Zoiza. Have a good night.
Hotline 0114 896 896.